The hater was supposed to be in Brazil by now, but as usual, the hater got rammed by the long dick of Delta Airlines, and I was stranded overnight in Atlanta, where I had a great time. I went to a hookah bar, ATL Hookah Lounge, down here in Atlanta. Was treated really well, so if you guys are from here or around here, go to it. It's close to the airport, so it's a good little spot to go chill, you know what I mean? So, with that being said, the hater had some extra time on his hands, so he decided to go and watch Raw for all of y'alls, you know what I'm saying? The hater is the hardest working man on YouTube, you heard me? So with that being said, we're gonna do this no different than we normally do it, and that is segment by segment, all right? So first of all, the jism come out. The jism come out, and Paul Heyman says he is the GOAT. Heyman explains who everyone is. He says this is Braun Breaker, this is Seth Rollins, and this is Bronson Reed. Bronson is now all about the shoes. This is like a pseudo gimmick, right? He is now the owner of the Shula Fala, which I will admit is clever, and he is the tribal thief, which is not clever. It's stupid and lame. You can't make this shit up. They came up with this, and this only works if he starts calling himself, you know, continuously the owner of the Shula Fala, because that's just funny. It's a good pun. It really shits on the Ula Fala. There's all these elements to it, right? At this point, Jey Uso comes out, and some kids say yeet. Jay is 100% right when he says that these jobbers shouldn't talk anymore. You know what I'm saying? He then brings up that he beat Gunther like 5 months ago, you know? Where the fuck is Gunther, by the way? Hear those airport sounds, motherfucks? The hater is all truth and no lies. You know what I'm saying? I'm at the airport out here. I just checked in, cucks. So anyways, let's continue, right? He says he's also going to beat up Braun Breaker tonight. Braun Breaker would obviously murder this guy. Rollins then gets Breaker going by bringing up the family, the Steiner family, in relation to Uso's family, right? Now, the reality is Scott Steiner would destroy literally every Samoan that has ever breathed. So, like, there's no reason why Braun Breaker should feel some type of way. Rick Steiner, too, probably, but Scott Steiner in his prime, very few men would be able to stand up to Scott Steiner. Most people don't know that this guy is also a very, very accomplished amateur wrestler. Scott Steiner would kick someone's ass if you wanted to, with all those muscles, all that functional strength, and all that skill, cucks. After this, what's it called? Not Scott Steiner. Heyman brings up ECW because they're in Philadelphia and says a bunch of ECW things. Now, I don't like the little cheap pops when they're in Philadelphia. Let's bring up ECW. But he did say one thing that I did like, which was that New Jack was the only real gangster in the business. This, in my opinion, is also a dig towards a lot of the Samoans who act like they're tough guys, who act like they're gangsters. They're not New Jack. They're not real ones. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, it'll be Extreme Rules tonight as Jay tries to get over this whoa. Instead of the yeet, he's trying to say whoa, but the fans are too programmed to understand that. The fans will only say yeet. They're too dumb. Now imagine being one of the fans that actually understood what the ask was. And like, you see people around you going yeet and you're going whoa because that's what you're told to do. That's what the new thing is. But it didn't go over well. After this next segment, they show the Japanese girls falling apart. And then Asuka says she's sorry. They continue this shitty attempt at English and then mercifully switch to Japanese because even though we don't understand it, at least it doesn't sound like shit. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it went down, motherfucks. Don't take it up with me. And now it's time for Iyo Sky versus Raquel, which this match leads from the segment of the Japanese girls talking, right? The match is whatever. It's not a horrible match, but it's silly, right? This is the equivalent of Rey Mysterio beating up the Big Show. Now, I know that the proportionality is such that, like, you know, we have a scenario where, like, Raquel is big, but she's not the Big Show. I get that. And Iyo Sky is small, but she's not as small as Rey Mysterio. She's one of the smaller girls, but Rey Mysterio is like the smallest guy, and Big Show is like the biggest guy. But nevertheless, it still feels that way because Iyo Sky has to do these Rey Mysterio type moves, like drop kicking someone in the knee. And the entire time you're thinking to yourself, why doesn't Raquel just slap her? You know what I mean? And to be fair, Rey Mysterio never beat Big Show clean, right? So it's like, even though they're closer in size, it still doesn't make any sense, cucks. So after this, we move on, and the match goes on for another 10-15 minutes, it feels like, right? Eventually, like Iyo Sky wins, like I alluded to, and Roxanne starts whooping her ass along with Raquel. Rhea makes the save, and the faces beat up the heels. After this, we have LA Knight being interviewed. CM Punk then shows up. LA Knight tells him he has cost him multiple title opportunities. Total facts, right? CM Punk's new thing is he wants LA Knight, CM Punk, and Jey Uso to work together, which is honestly a solid plan. You all but surely guarantee that Seth Rollins isn't going to win the title if it's like a 3-on-1, right? But this is going to be one of those scenarios where it's like they're going to start fighting amongst each other, obviously, and then that plus CM Punk's lackeys, Rollins' lackeys are going to lead to Rollins retaining. I don't see Rollins dropping this for a while, but it would be great if he did, and LA Knight won. In addition, I think the next pay-per-view after Ass in Paris is going to be like the Saudi Arabian pay-per-view, the like Night of Champions, but the one where they fight each other, where the champions fight each other, you know what I mean? Crown Jewel, I think. Crown Stool, as we call it around here. So, like, you have to consider that, too. Like, Cucky Rhodes isn't going anywhere. So it's going to be, like, Cucky probably versus Seth Rollins. Like, I don't see Cucky versus CM Punk being the match, you know? Or Cucky versus Jey Uso, that's for sure. Or even Cucky versus LA Knight, yeah. But anyways, that's how that went down. After this, we move backstage. Asuka is upset, justifiably so in my opinion, that Rhea has a lot to help out, but Asuka isn't, right? Rhea says, well, I helped out because nobody else did. And then Asuka says, she told us to stay back, right? That's what she said. Now, to be fair, like, Iyo said stay back, like, don't fuck with my match. But after the match is over, like, Iyo did it by herself. She won the match, right? Like, after that, if people are attacking your friend, you save your friend, right? It has nothing to do with the match anymore. You know, the match is over. This would be just like if, like, Iyo Sky gets attacked in the bathroom and Asuka and Kairi Sane are just there and they don't do anything. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of level. So Rhea's also right? Everyone starts screaming, and Iyo Sky just says, stop fighting. And, like, this is one of those, like, who is she more friends with? Rhea Ripley or Asuka and Kairi Sane? Kairi Sane's kind of like in the middle. This clearly is an Asuka situation. So we'll see how that goes, motherfucks. Meanwhile, it's Xavier versus Penta. Penta wins, obviously, and once again humiliates Waller and the New Day. There's some thunder going on here, motherfucks, but I am the god of thunder, so we keep it going. Rain, snow, sleet, thunder, lightning, nah, we keep it going segment by segment up in this bitch. So anyways, that goes down. Obviously, Penta is being positioned to be like a stable mid-carder type, right? But at the same time, you have planes taken off, and you also have the New Day kind of like in limbo, right? And you know they're in limbo because they're being paired up with Grayson Waller. So it's like, you know, this is going absolutely nowhere. Now, last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever the fuck it was, Penta humiliated them all and pinned Grayson Waller. Then he threw Xavier's hat like Kung Lao through the ropes. Pretty good throw, might I add, and took them all out with a hat. You know what I mean? Like fucking Mario from Odyssey, you know? But anyways, like now, he did the same thing basically. There was no hat involved, but he also pinned Xavier. So next week, he can do the same thing and pin Kofi Kingston. Like, it doesn't matter. You know, this is just a placeholder. Like, what is the end game here? Why are they even fighting continuously? Like, it's like they had a match, Penta won, let's move on. Why does the same match have to happen multiple times? This is something that is very, like, you know, characteristic of the Triple H era. It's like the same thing happens again and again, but with no changes, right? So it's not like, you know, a match happens, one person wins but cheats, and then another match happens between the same two people, but the other person wins and cheats, or whatever, right? In other words, there's no reason to have the matches again. Now, I understand that this match was against Xavier and not Grayson Waller, but nevertheless, it's the same philosophy, right? It's Pentagon is struggling with the New Day, and the New Day are struggling with Pentagon. So nobody could care about this in the slightest, if you ask me. They show a clip of AJ Styles screwing Dom over, apparently, at Triple Mania. But now Dom gets a title shot against Hijo de Puta as Rey tells him he ain't shit. So, in other words, the rules of AAA are if you get pinned, you get a singles title shot. Because that's the logic here. Unless they're saying, oh, it's because AJ screwed him. At which point, AJ didn't screw him. He got him a singles title shot at Clash of the Worlds or whatever. I will say one thing. Clash of the Worlds used to be like NXT versus like, you know, NXT UK or some other bullshit. Now they've added AAA, which is kind of nice, but that's where AAA should stay. on the NXT level, right? This is one of my biggest criticisms of modern wrestling, right? You have people that are, like, for better or for worse, right? They are motherfucks that appear in WWE, in main TV, like Raw and SmackDown, but they're not WWE guys. But this doesn't happen with TNA. Like, you don't see Moose showing up, you know, on SmackDown, right? Moose is segregated in TNA. You know, Zachary Wentz doesn't even show up like in NXT anymore. You know, there's a lot of things that need to change. But meanwhile, you have like fucking Mr. Iguana showing up on Raw, taking up valuable space. More on that later. And when I say later, I mean right now, because the next segment starts out with shit rap music, so you know a jobber team is coming out. And apparently it's the Judgment Day. I don't know if this is the first time they had this theme song, but I believe it is. I haven't heard it before, you know? Their gimmick is now a faction with shitty rap music. You know, this is so far removed from what Edge started, right, that it shouldn't even be called the Judgment Day. Just call them the Rapscallions or something, right? Because the Judgment Day was this dark, supernatural, almost, like, group of sadists. Like, Edge was like the devil himself. In my opinion, if Edge stuck with that and Triple H didn't turn him face because he's retarded, and probably wanted to, honestly, Triple H probably just wanted to, like, stifle Edge's popularity, because that could have been an all-timer. That could have been the best run of Edge ever. Like, imagine if Edge led, like, Judgment Day, and he was, like, The Undertaker, basically, right? And then instead of War Games being, like, 15 Samoans and Sami Zayn, it could have been, imagine this, the Bloodline versus the Judgment Day. You could even throw in a broad to have, like, Rhea Ripley do stuff, right? Obviously, this would mean that the Judgment Day wouldn't have jobbers like JD McDonough and Dom. I mean, Dom's not a jobber, but you know what I mean. Like, it would be a serious faction. Maybe they could have even brought Christian Cage back, right? That would have been, can you imagine how epic that would be? Like, not only because it's Edge, but because, like, the Judgment Day back then was like, I'll fucking put, like, a crowbar in your mouth and pull. You know what I mean? That is some really cool, some really nice, if you ask me, like, War Games type stuff, right? Like, War Games level brutality. But now we have shitty rap music, Judgment Day, which is effectively the same thing as Fraxium, right? It's probably, the song is probably by the same artist that did Fraxium. Some guy they pay 15 grand a year to do a couple of songs here and there if he's lucky to get even that. Anyways, the match starts. It's going to be the tag team champs version, right? So McDonough and Balor versus Mr. Iguana and some guy with wings. I didn't recognize him because all the luchadors have no personalities except for Mr. Iguana, right? But apparently it was Dragon Lee. This is dumb, and this ain't AAA, so why are they here, motherfucks? Dominique helps the Judgment Day win, and you knew this was going to happen, and more importantly, you knew that Dragon Lee was taking the pin because he always takes the pin up his ass. He is the guy that gets pinned. If it's not him, it's going to be JD, but I don't think it'd be JD, so take that, cucks. Deal with it. That's how it was, and that's how it's gonna be. You know what I mean? And then the show continues. Now, obviously, the match had to have a winner, and it had to have a loser. So who do you think won? Like I said, obviously Dragon Lee's taking the pin, but in my opinion, this match had no winners because there was no point to this match. Like, what is the end game? What is the mid game for this one? Like, imagine if Mr. Iguana and fucking, like, Dragon Lee, who hasn't won a match ever, pinned the tag champions. Like, are they now in line? Like, is Mr. Iguana eligible to win the WWE tag titles? He's not even an employee. Doesn't make any sense, you know? And also, how is it that these jobbers, like Mr. Iguana, now have an avenue, they have a method of getting to the WWE? Because under Vince McMahon, Mr. Iguana would get out there and Brock Lesnar would put him through a table, throw him down the stairs, and that'd be the beginning as well as the end of Mr. Iguana. But here we are. During the match, I should note, La Yesca comes into play, and Corey Graves addresses the elephant in the room, which is, how is this asshole allowed to use a puppet during the match? And he says it's an extension of Mr. Iguana. So if I claim that this kendo stick is an extension of my cack, right? Can I use that to beat people? I guess they're going for the whole Bianca Belair hair situation, right? Where she uses the hair as a weapon. But that literally is an extension of her. You know what I mean? It's her hair. And more importantly, it's literally an extension because it's not her real hair. You know what I mean? So, and that's also just more cool, right? It's not like a completely random thing that anyone can use. Like, what prevents, I don't know, what prevents Dominic for bringing up like a Rey Mysterio puppet? You know, or grabbing a Rey Mysterio action figure, just throwing it at somebody. But anyways, that's what happened, motherfucks. I don't make the rules. So after the match is over, the heels start beating up, I suppose, the faces. Then what happens? I'll tell you. It's not fucking Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro coming to save the day. They're probably not even there. You know what I mean? They're probably just resting or like in developmental or maybe still in Mexico trying to get jobs. But who comes to save them? Hijo de Vikingo, also known as Hijo de Puta, right? He comes out, he starts whooping that ass. But eventually he gets blasted by Dominic from behind as it starts raining here. But the hater found some shelter, so the video continues. I told you guys, rain or shine, the hater's gonna keep doing it. So what happens is he beats them up, they beat him up, but the heels like win and stand triumphant. Now when I say stand triumphant, it's really weird because they're all really small guys. So it's just like, I don't care who you beat up. Like, you're 3 cruiserweights. Like, Brock Lesnar should be, like, squashing the entire Judgment Day 3-on-1. And he probably would. You know? So, that's how it goes, motherfuckers. That's how it goes. What can I say? Like, again, motherfuckers, this is the best they got. This is the best they're going to show us. If Mr. Iguana is worthwhile, then I guess anything's possible. After this, we get a promo with Becky Lynch, right? It's like an interview-style promo. And she's asked why she attacked Natalya. I don't give a rat's ass, right? After this, we get a reminder that Canelo Alvarez is fighting Terrence Crawford. I can't wait till this fucking match happens so we can stop hearing about this, right? It's like, remember when like John Cena did the Marine, you know? And like 3 months before the Marine, every like 10 minutes, JR would be like, oh, the Marine starring John Cena coming soon. And it's like, thank you, bro. We got it. You know, after this, we get a Bayley, I guess we'll call it a vignette, right? Where she's hearing voices and they just play the voices like it's normal for us to hear the voices in her head. But this is a thing now. So we have to accept it for what it is. And for what it is, it's actually kind of fun. You know, it's actually a gimmick for Bayley who's never had a gimmick. So I'm cool with it, you know. She could do a good job with this, but hopefully it doesn't take an eternity for it to happen, right? The presentation, like I said, is still whack. So we have nothing to say about that. Next up, it's Becky versus Natalya. And Becky wins with a disarmer. She won't let go until Maxine, like, jumps in. Becky then whoops her ass too until Nikki Bella comes out and beats the shit out of Becky. Hits the Rack Attack 2.0. And that's it, right? So that's the feud. Hopefully Nikki Bella wins the IC title because Becky Lynch should really just be in the main event. It just makes more sense. Sheamus is doing an interview for no reason. Rusev appears, but they're broken up. Adam Pearce is there screaming at the top of his lungs about how he's had enough of this. So they're going to have a match at Ass in Paris. It'll be a good old-fashioned Donnybrook match, which is some sort of match that I'm sure will involve a lot of sponsors one way or another. They then show a clip from Stephanie McMahon's podcast where they will make an announcement, right? It involves Naomi and Jimmy Uso. But then they cut before the announcement. So what was the point of this? You know what I mean? Anyways, they just showed us something that happened at the show, but then they're not going to tell us what that is. But it doesn't matter because we're going to find out later. Punk then has a segment with Jey Uso where he offers help, but Jey doesn't want any favors. At the very least, Jey is intelligent, right? He sees where like making deals with CM Punk ends up. Nowhere good. CM Punk says, I got your back anyways. They shake hands. Complete waste of a segment. After this, we move on, and it's time for Naomi to come out. She comes out, and then she says, roll the footage, basically, and they finish the podcast segment. Naomi, it turns out, is pregnant, motherfucks. So the hater wishes her congratulations. Makes me really happy that she's pregnant. I hope they have a happy, beautiful, and healthy child. But in a nice twist, Adam Pearce comes out and congratulates her, wants her title. Naomi says, no, fam. She says her hormones are out of control, and she tells Pearce to hit the bricks. Then she leads the fans to a na-na-na-na, like, sing-along, right? She says she's keeping the title and isn't giving it up. But as the fans chant, you deserve it, she leaves the title anyways and says she'll be back, breastfeeding if she has to with a baby on her arm, and will pick up where she left off, which I really like. This was a very fiery promo. Naomi is good at what she does. And quite frankly, of all the pregnancy situations, this was great because she maintained character, right? So when Karma, remember Karma, Awesome Kong? When she was pregnant and this pretty much derailed her career, right? Like she like broke down and turned into a face and just broke down. It was weird. Then when Becky Lynch revealed she was pregnant, Asuka, who was a heel, turned into a face and gave her a hug. But in this one, Naomi maintained her heel aesthetic and her heel mannerisms as she's getting massively over. You know what I mean? She is getting massively over. There was a girl dressed in like caution, in a caution outfit that they showed. So this is really a shame. Now, obviously it's overall a positive because a new human's coming to the world, and I'm sure that Naomi and Jimmy Uso are happy. But from a wrestling fan's perspective, it sucks. But it is what it is, motherfuckers. Better to have a baby than it is to go and take bumps for no reason. Anyways, then we have a segment between Dom and El Grande Ludwig, the Ludwig version of El Grande Americano, and they're talking, and Finn is perturbed. Finn has been perturbed at Dominic's like straying from the pack for about a year and a half, and nothing's come of it yet. So hopefully this doesn't take forever, right? After this, it's finally time for the main event. The match is not bad, it's pretty fun, and Jay's about to win, but Bronson pulls the ref out and throws a shoe at him, which I like. LA Knight comes out, Rollins interferes, CM Punk comes out. There's a moment where Rollins pushes Punk into Knight, who goes through a table. Which is one of those situations where LA Knight's gonna be like, you put me through the table, Punk, but it's like, no real person would take that seriously because what happened was obviously an accident. Although CM Punk makes a face like, oh, it is what it is, like, I don't give a fuck, you know? Basically, the match continues, and then Roman Reigns comes out, and Uso wins with a splash through the table. This is basically the same way that Raw has ended for the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's one of two scenarios. The Jism either beat everybody, or almost more often than not, like someone comes back, like Roman Reigns, and lays a beating on somebody. But why isn't Roman Reigns ever like there when the show starts? You know what I mean? Why is it that Roman Reigns can only be introduced through these run-ins? How about instead have one time, show Roman Reigns, and be like, oh, Roman Reigns is here tonight, you know? And he wants a match. But they're not gonna do that, so it is what it is. The show had some ups and had some downs, but the repetition is killing it. It's the same old shit. Otherwise, I thought that it was a pretty decent iteration of the current level of Raw, which is a solid 3 out of 10, which is exactly the score that this Raw is getting. Once again, this is fine compared to other Raws, but the show needs to improve significantly. During the show, they advertised Survivor Series. It's in San Diego. The hater lives nowhere near San Diego. But nevertheless, I looked at tickets, and the tickets are like $800 for like section 2. So there's like front row, like floor, section 1, and section 2 is like $850. You know what I mean? Plus, like with fees, it's gonna be like $900. You know, that's ridiculous. That's just absurd. Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense, and quite frankly, like it's not worth it. So I don't know who's going to this. Like, I don't think I'd go to Survivor Series if I got it for free, let alone if like I had to pay for it. So that's the state of wrestling, and this is the state of the hater about to get on his flight in the next couple of hours. So take care of you guys. I'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow. You know, don't hold the hater to a video a day, because the hater's got a baptism to go to, a birthday to go to, and ultimately in about 10 days or so, the hater has to start welcoming his guests for the pre-wedding and the wedding. And there's God telling the hater that he's on the right track, cucks. With that being said, take care of yourselves and go fuck your own mothers.